Hello, and welcome to ASMR TirarADeguello. Are you hoping to calm your mind, relax your body, or experience ASMR? Dr. Andrew Michaels is here to help you. We are so grateful you have chosen to spend some time with us today. Please remember to subscribe if you haven't already, and consider reviewing this podcast on iTunes and sharing it with your friends and family. It really does help.
Hello and welcome to my podcast. I have a very different show for you today. I thought I would help you, my listeners, cope with idiots in your life. I decided to make a little teaching module here to help my listeners if they ever come across somebody who is a devout idiot, convinced of their own intelligence and feeling the need to crush you as an individual. You, my viewer, will know how to handle them. So I will tell you a little story. Hopefully we can pass on some wisdom and knowledge that can help you deal with strange folk in the future. I like to brag, those who watch my show. I like to brag that all are welcome at my table. They are. I mean that. Doesn't matter what you are or who you are. All are welcome at Dr. Andrew Michaels' table. That's right. Now you can say that, well, he doesn't really mean that. I'm sure there's someone who's not welcome at his table. But you would be wrong, because I have had just about the worst human being you could possibly have in the world sitting at my table on more than one occasion. And, truth be told, I made little or no progress with that person, and they left with a feeling of superiority and felt that they had a, in their own words, spirited debate with me, and were thankful that I was willing to do that with them. That's not how I remember the confrontation. I don't consider people standing over top of me while I'm sitting at my table in my house, in my kitchen, and you're yelling and screaming and swinging your arms around in the air. That's not a spirited debate. That's you screaming and yelling at me and acting like a complete jackass. But you're still welcome. And they were welcome. And I made them welcome. They ate my food. They drank my, whatever I offered. No booze. No liquor involved in this argument. You got to be sober to go this far with your indoctrination. But the point was the person wasn't happy unless they were screaming and yelling at me. They had held their tongue long enough, they said. Their words, not mine. And they were going to let me know exactly what the truth of the matter was. So they made an argument, and the argument collapsed. So they tried to shift the argument to something else, and the argument collapsed. So they tried to shift the argument again to something else, and the argument collapsed. Right around that time, they started screaming, yelling at me, and evoking God, religion, morality, anything else that they could to try to justify their position, because when you fail in all aspects of an argument, therefore God. Well, God can be interpreted many different ways, and He's your God, but He might be my God too. So I think you don't speak for Him. And also, if He is a God, He doesn't need you to speak for Him. He can speak for Himself. I'm very sure that if God wanted to tell me something, He could come right down and tell me Himself. He doesn't need some loudmouth person screaming and yelling on a Saturday morning in my house like a banshee, like you have a stick up your ass on fire. That doesn't really get a lot accomplished. I think God would rather you use your head and not your ass to solve your problems. But that's just me. That's just me. And I am an angry, vindictive person when people take my generosity and my kindness and they wad it up in a nice tight ball and throw it back in my face. I tend to do things like what I'm doing right now. I tell stories. I pass on my wisdom. I tell people what I think. And I'll continue to do that when people come to my house and think that they can take a moral high ground with me over something that I thought was trivial. And I will avoid the actual argument as much as possible, but I made a trivial statement. The person exploded in rage. My wife was so upset she left the house. She walked out. I was left alone with this idiot, arguing and trying to get them to calm down on my own. And that wasn't very nice. I thought I could have used a little help on this situation because I was trying to diffuse the situation, not escalate it into a debate on 4 or 5 different political subjects that I really didn't want to discuss, that I really don't care about. So finally the person was not getting their way, which I think was to infuriate me. I'm not sure if that was the end goal or to win the argument, but they were not winning the argument and they were not accomplishing their goal. Because I did the thing that you should always do in an argument, or you'll lose. You will immediately lose an argument unless you do exactly what I just did. And that was I remained calm. I remained calm. I thought about what they were saying, and I said, well, what does that mean? Does that mean this? Does that mean that? I challenged their whatever they said with critical thinking and reason and questions. And I applied logic to their argument, and immediately their argument would collapse. Because they're just yelling. They're just yelling talking points. But when you actually start to break down a problem and say, well, what do you mean by this? And what do you mean by that? Because things aren't all black and white. There's gray areas in everything. Right now I'm dealing with a lot of people in my life that want everything in life painted with a nice broad brush, black and white. Well, even looking at a black and white film, there are shades of grays and tones, and the eye can pick up what looks to be colors, because the eye can deceive the mind and see colors even in black and white movies. I see a suit or a dress on a person, and I almost think it's red, or it looks blue, or it looks gray. Though that's not black and white. Blue and red and gray. These aren't black and white. These things happen, because our perception of the world around us is through our own mind's eye. And we perceive the world around us, and we make logical decisions, and we learn, and we educate ourselves, and we don't see the world black and white. You might think you do, and you may have some black and white opinions on certain subject matters. Now, for example, we'll take something that's socially and morally and through the law illegal. I don't even want to say anything, because everything is judgmental these days. Okay, let's just say it's illegal to cheat on your taxes, and it's morally reprehensible to cheat on your taxes, and everybody has to pay them, and we're all equal, so we all should pay them. So that's good. But we all fudge a little bit, don't we? Don't we all fudge just a tiny, tiny bit on our taxes? Not a lot, just a little here, just a little there, just a little here. Now, some people are black and white about taxes, and I think I am too. You put the numbers in. If I owe it, I owe it. If I don't owe it, I don't owe it. But we put all the numbers in. And sometimes I make out, sometimes I lose. But the point is, it's a black and white issue. Either I owe it or I don't. Some things aren't like that. Some things are personal issues. Some things are personal decisions that only apply to that one individual. Some things only apply to small groups. You can't understand what it's like not to have a right or a privilege until you don't have it. Some groups don't have the same rights and privileges that you have automatically just by birth. They have to go out and get those rights and privileges, and they have to have them defined by the government or by society, because they were never properly defined in the past. Everybody wants to see the world in gray, not black and white, when it comes to moral things or societal issues, when it favors their position. I thought it was decided a long time ago that all men are created equal. Well, I think because I'm a man, that's fine. All men are created equal. That leaves out 50% of the population. Women are created equal too, and women should be equal to men. So maybe saying all men are created equal is a true statement. All men are created equal. I would agree with that. But all women are created equal too. How about the statement, everyone is created equally? Okay? All human beings are equal. So you could say, well, this is true, but then there's another truth out there. None of them are gray. None of them are black and white. It's just a different way of approaching the same problem. And I don't like people trying to label me and say, well, you're a leftist or you're right wing or you're whatever you are. I believe in liberty. That doesn't make me a liberal. I'm actually quite conservative on many personal issues. And I would fall somewhere in the middle between both groups. And I always have, and I challenge anyone who says I don't. I can look at what I think are important issues in life, and I may agree with you 50% of the time. It doesn't make me this or that or the other thing. But what I do believe in is liberty. I believe that we were all put on this planet equal the same. And no one has a right to have it more of a privilege or more rights than the next person. I don't believe it's okay to have a slave. I don't believe that you should be able to control and manipulate other people's lives. I believe people should have a right to their own destiny. And I do think if people are out there doing evil, they should be called on for it, and they should be stopped. And it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what your name is, and it doesn't matter how much money you make, and it doesn't matter what kind of a position you have in society. I think all human beings have the same rights as the next one, and they shouldn't have to fight for them. If an inequity, that means not equal. It means when somebody has something and then you don't have it. If an inequity is brought before society, and it doesn't cost anybody any money, it doesn't cost anybody any sleep, it should be rectified, and society should accept it as the norm and just go on with their business. And what I mean by that is saying women are equal to men does not change the price of coffee when you go up to the lady and you give her the money. Oh, there I'm being a sexist. Well, why does it have to be a woman taking your money? Because the woman I go and I buy my drink when I'm on my way to work is a woman. So I said, here's the money, and I hand it to her. It doesn't cost me more because women and men are equal. Or gays have a right to vote. Or gays have a right to marry. Or gays have a right to buy property. Or black people can live wherever they want. Marry whoever they want. Doesn't change the price of bread, milk, anything. The only time it affects anything is when you let it affect you. When you let xenophobia, racism, sexism, bigotry, when you let these things label you, when you accept those things as truth, when you accept those things as the standard by which you're going to live, that's the hill you're going to die on. You've limited your intelligence, and you've limited your life experience. And if I can be so bold, you might have actually limited your life expectancy. If you're going to go around in fear and anguish and hatred and bigotry and racism, and you're going to let that own you, if you're going to let that define you, if you're going to carry that weight around your neck, you won't live as long as the next person who doesn't care. That evil will drag you down. It will drag you straight down to the hell you curse everybody else to. And I've seen it. If there are any constants in the universe, I've seen people wallowing in their own selfish, hateful anger, cursing the world, cursing those around them. And when they died, they got treated like dirt, because that's all they taught. So the next generation put them right in a pine box and shoved them right in a hole and forgot they ever existed. Forgot they were ever born. And the reason why was they were too busy with their own hatred, their own loathing, their own evil. If you want to go around in life just despising everyone around you, if you want to fill your heart full of hate, that's all you're gonna exude from your spirit. There is a karma and a consistency to the universe. They call it the golden rule. They call it yin and yang, good and evil, black and white. If you're out doing evil, then evil will be brought upon you because it's a reflection of what you do in the world. If you're out doing a lot of good, then good will reflect back to you. And in the Christian ethic, they teach it as, turn the other cheek. If you keep doing evil, treat others as you want them to treat you. Because if you treat others horribly, then you can't complain when people are treating you horribly back. But I'd like to tell everyone that in all my studies, in all my readings, and all my knowledge, that there is more to it than that. Not that there's anything wrong with that Christian rule, but there's a grand rule above all rules. If you go around in society causing trouble, causing hatred, sowing deceit, speaking evil, mistaking people's kindness for weakness, preying on people. It's going to be what reflects back to you. It's what's going to happen back at you. And when it starts to happen back to you, okay, let's talk about it on a social media scale. Okay, I'm going to block that person because they're a jerk. You block them, then you get blocked by somebody that's a mutual friend of theirs. Hey, why'd that person block me? Because you blocked them. Well, I'm going to block them. Well, how about that? That person blocked me. Block, 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 block. The next thing you know, you're living alone. You're going to be alone after a while. In your own little cubicle, completely bricked up and blocked in. Now, sometimes you do have to block people, so I'm not going to sit here and be judgmental over that. In some cases, that's the only solution. And I do think it's a solution when two parties have chosen not to get along. I think the best thing to do is block and ignore each other. But karma works like that. If people open the door for you, you open the door for others. If you have the door slammed in your face every time you walk up to it, you're not going to try to open the door for the next person. Most people aren't. They're going to let the door slam, or they're going to slam it in the next person's face. It's just human nature. Now, you can say, oh, that's not true. I hold the door open. Yes, we all know you're perfect, but in reality, if you think about your life, if people keep slamming a door in your face, then it becomes the norm. It becomes the standard on how society works. So you will slam the door in their face. And if you go to an echo chamber every week, and everybody in that echo chamber says that those people over there do not deserve the same rights and privileges we have, those people over there are not really good people, they're not really righteous people like us, they're not as good as us. If that's all you hear, well, it must be true, because that's what I hear. That all those people over there are bad, and they're evil, and they're up to no good, and they really shouldn't have the same rights that we have. And if we give them the same rights we have, well, then they're gonna take advantage of us. Yeah, so we have to keep them down. Why are we changing the population for those people over there? And that was the final argument, because this person couldn't win an argument if I let them. So they finally said, why are we changing the law for 1% of the population? To which I answered, it's actually 5% or more. And that adds up to hundreds of thousands of people just in the state of Ohio where I live. So I think they have a right to the same things you do. And I said, since you threw that statistic out, I'd like to let you know that some people in that population are 20 to 40% more likely to commit suicide than the average person because of the way society views and treats them. Did you ever think about that? And the response from the person was, oh, boo-hoo. Oh, boo-hoo. They got me. They won the fight. I put my hand down on the table. I almost slammed my hand. If I would, I might have literally cracked my table. broke it. I put my hand down. I gently stood up. I don't think they heard me say, "You're evil." That was evil. That was rotten and evil. And I don't remember exactly how I said it, but the words came out of my mouth. I walked a little further away and I said some little parting things. Basically, I'm leaving the room. I'm done with this. Make yourself comfortable. Don't worry about anything. But we're done with this. And I've got some things to do, and, my wife will let you out. And I left the room. I would think somebody would have lost enough people in their life to be a little more compassionate than that. But I guess when it comes to winning the argument nowadays, it's win at all cost. Even if it means losing a friendship or losing a loved one or committing a loved one to death. I had 3 arguments later that day, over what had happened earlier with my family members because I was trying to get to the bottom of it, and I didn't resolve much, but I do realize I made a mistake. Something I thought was a offhand remark was a horrible thing to bring up. You really got to be careful in this day and age what you talk about. See, you're not allowed to talk about what you want to talk about. You're not allowed to say what you want to say in your own home. Remember now, this isn't a public forum. This is my home. And I'm being instructed by those around me not to bring up certain things in my own home. Well, I got news for everybody. If you want to come to my house and eat at my table, take my gifts, drink with me, let my wife cook for you, and then after the meal is over with, start a vigorous, stupid argument with me in my own home, that's fine. And as I have said before, all are welcome. Even that person I'm talking about right now is still welcome at my table. You might want to think about it. You might want to look across the table at who you're talking to and just remember who you're talking to. Because he might get on his podcast and he might spend a half hour talking about you and how stupid and idiotic you are, how close-minded and narrow-visioned you are, and how rude you were towards his hospitality. You won the fight, but you lost me, friend, when you acted like that. You lost me. Because I have buried enough people. I don't need that statistic explained to me. I don't need your flippant remarks and attitude explained to you why that was so cold and callous and why I consider it evil that you did that. And I will say what I want in my house. And I'm pretty sure that's never gonna change. And I'm saying it right now on this podcast, and I'm sure not very many people are still listening. When you come in, you will be welcomed. But I assure you, I will say what I want to say. So the choice of coming to my house isn't on me anymore. Oh, no. That's not how karma works. It's on you. It's up to you to close that door, not me. I hope I taught somebody out there something. I hope I helped somebody who's dealing with something in their life right now and told them that it's okay to be different. It's okay to hold your chin up. And it's okay to say what you think and have your own opinion. I tried to keep this broad enough that you could apply it to a lot of arguments, but I probably failed. I probably let my emotions get in the way. But I assure you it would apply to any argument. Take care, everyone. Know that I do think about all of you, and I read your responses, and I appreciate you sharing my podcast. And you do mean a lot to me. And I assure you, you are all welcome at my table. I'm not sure if that's a good idea, but you are. Until I see all of you again, please have a most blessed day. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us for ASMR TirarADeguello. Remember to stay tuned for the next episode, coming soon. When you have a moment, please take the time to rate and review this podcast. If you are interested in additional ASMR content, you may view our library of videos at youtube.com/TirarADeguello. The theme song Atlantis is by Jason Shaw of audionautics.com and is used by permission. Correspondence, including questions or requests, may be sent to TirarADeguello@gmail.com. On behalf of Dr. Andrew Michaels, thank you.